and ethical leaders for sustainable development. Its mission: the university shall primarily provide advanced education, higher technological, professional instruction, and training in the fields of education, arts and sciences, public administration, information technology, accountancy, law, and other relevant fields of study. It shall also promote research and extension service and provide progressive leadership in its areas of specialization. BukSU Quality Policy. Bukidnon State University is committed to produce globally competitive and responsible graduates through excellent instruction, responsive research, sustainable extension, and quality production for the highest satisfaction of its stakeholders. Bukidnon State University. Educate, innovate, lead.
Bukidnon State University Statistical Center, or BukSU Stat Center, caters statistical services to the students and faculty's research papers to ensure the desired quality is met and delivered. The center also offers Grammarly and plagiarism tests to check for grammar and originality of the researches. They use licensed software such as SPSS, Minitab, Grammarly Test, Plagiarism Detector, Item Analysis, Amos, and NVivo. The services processing time for Grammarly 2 days, plagiarism 2 days, data analysis 5 days, and reliability 5 days. The center offers the following services for parametric tests such as t-test, ANOVA, correlation analysis, regression analysis, and COVA and MANOVA. For non-parametric tests such as sign tests, Wilcoxon sign rank tests, Mann-Whitney U tests, Spearman rank test, and Kroskal-Wallis tests. They also offer explanatory data analysis such as explanatory factor analysis, confirmatory factor analysis, cluster analysis, discriminant analysis, logistic regression analysis, path analysis, and structural equation modeling. For inquiries, please contact Dr. Marlon S. Prius at buksuresearchquality@gmail.com and trunk line number 813-5661 local 112, or like their Facebook page www.facebook.com/Bukidnon State University Statistical Center. And you may visit them at Bukidnon State University, 3rd floor, BukSU Research and Extension Building, Balay City, Bukidnon. Or look for Miss Julie Cris Malyari, Stat Center staff. The center is headed by Dr. Marlon S. Frias, who is under the supervision of Vice President for Research, Extension, and International Affairs, Dr. Joy M. Mirasol. BukSU Statistical Center.
This is 104.5
DXBU 104.5.
Bukidnon State University, through the Office of the Vice President for Research, Extension, and International Affairs, and the local government of Malaybalay, through City Mayor Honorable Florencio T. Flores Jr. and 2nd District Congressman Honorable Attorney Jonathan Keith T. Flores, bring you Pag-ambitay daw ang kaulian, Share to Heal, a social innovation contra COVID-19. This program is an information, education, and communication campaign to address the 9 dimensions of the new normal on health and wellness, governance and management, culture, education, mental health, media literacy, spirituality, legal, and economics and food security. Join us every Wednesday at 9 to 11 in the morning for a variety of learnings together with our credible speakers. Only here on DXBU 104.5 FM. You can also watch the simultaneous Facebook Live through Pag-ambitay daw ang kaulian, Share to Heal, and DXBU 104.5 FM page. Pag-ambitay daw ang kaulian, Share to Heal, a social innovation contra COVID-19.
Pag-ambitay daw ag kaulian, Share to Heal, Bukidnon State University Social Innovation kontra COVID-19. Kini nga programa nagasiguro sa paghatag o pagsabot sa publiko mahitungod sa mga sumbanan, hagit o oportunidad dinha sa gitawag nga new normal o bag-ong normal. Kini usa ka pamaagi aron maandam sa pagsalmot ang publiko diha sa pagwagtang ug pagkunhod sa mga hulga sa COVID-19. Mga labas nga impormasyon gikan sa masaligang tigpamakba sa hisgutanang labigitang mga pribado ug pampublikong sektor lakip ang ordinaryong lungsuranon. Paminaw sa pag-ambitay daw ag kaulian, share to heal dili lang sa DXBU 104.5 FM matag Miyerkules alas 9 hangtod sa alas 11 sa buntag.
Please welcome our host, Mr. Walter Ibalani and Mr. Andrew Lou Frank L. Cabigas. Pag-abitay daw ag kaulian, share to heal.
Hello!
Yes, good morning.
Good morning! Maayong buntag sa tanan, labi na ba sa naminaw sa ato sa DXBU 104.5 FM o sa ilahang mga Facebook live stream. Adlawng Miyerkules na usab mga higala, no? Pizza 23 sa Setyembre 2020. Adlawng Miyerkules nga atong gaatangan, no? Og naglanog-lanog na usab sa kahanginan ang atong programa Pag-ambitay daw ag kaulian. Salamat ti Idol sa ato ang mga nagpaluyo ning atong programa, ato sang ang atong pasidungog og pasalamat sa atong University President Dr. Oscar B. Cabanyeles nga ang atong maoy atong program leader, ang atong VP for Admin Planning and Development, Administration Planning and Development Mr. Dante S. Victoria Jr., ang atong VP for Academic Affairs Dr. Hazel Jean M. Abuela, VP for Research, Extension and International Affairs Dr. Joy Molina Merasol. Siya usab ang atong project leader sa programang Pag-ambitay daw ag kaulian, share to heal. Ako mga higala si Walter Balane sa College of Arts and Sciences o usab sa Office of the President for Information and Publication Service.
Yes, may buntag ug kaubang niya po ninyo karon ang inyong partner, Andre Lu Frank L. Cabigas, gikan sa Language and Letters Department ug usab sa National Service Training Program. Parehata partner daghan ta og daghan ta opisina, no? Okay. Good morning sa tanan natong mga tigpaminaw karong buntaga ato mga suki na kayo nga dili gyud biyaan partner, no? Na habit na nila suki na kay natong tigpaminaw diri sa tong programang Pag-ambitay daw ag kaulian. So kaniya to ang proyekto partner pinaagi kini sad no sa di ni kini mahimo kung wala ang DXBU 104.5 FM, ang educational and community-based radio station of Bukidnon State University. Og sama na sa naingon makita kita og madungog usab sa ato ang live stream sa FB Live og kaning ato ang 1-year extension project madunggan yun kini no every Wednesday 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So kanang ayun yung kalimtino imbitara ang inyong mga higala, kapamilya, kapuso, kapatid, mga kapartner na maminaw sa ato ang programa. Yes, partner.
Pagtimbaya sa atong mga kauban din sa Office of the President, ang Dr. Oscar Cabanyeles, kang Ma'am Virgie Beliegas, Ma'am Shahani, kang Ma'am Anlu and Ma'am Beng og sa tanan nga naa sa administration building o sa ilang mga tagsa ka mga opisina.
Yes, partner, ato sang tagaan og greetings. So pagtagad, hello pod kay Dr. Lorenzo M. Dinlayan again no, sa atong OSS og sa mga estudyante, ako mga estudyante partner na naminaw karon sa NSTP og sa atong mga kauban sa National Service Training Program labi na sa ato ang coordinator si Mr. Albert A. Celebran.
All right. Pagtimbaya usab sa mga katauhan sa ato ang dakbayan sa Malaybalay. Kining atong programa mga higala gipaluyuhan usab kini no sa local government unit sa atong dakbayan sa pagpangunan ni Mayor Lorenzo T. Flores Jr. ug usab sa atong first district representative John Keith Flores.
Okay partner, sa pagkakaroon atong last week kung na-miss ninyo ang mga episode, maong episode atong tagaan sila o gamay na recap kung unsay nahitabo sa atong last episode ato ni aging Miyerkules. Partner?
Yes, sa niaging simana hisgutanan sa kalambuan ng atong tutok no gipukosan diri mga higala kay nahimo natong guest ang atong regional director sa National Economic Development Authority sa Region 10, si RD Myla Faye Aurora B. Carreño. O kauban niya ang ato ang City Planning and Development Coordinator, si Engineer Adrian R. Gamboa. Ug kini ang mga snapshots or gist no sa mga nahisgutan sa miaging semana sa topic nga challenges and opportunities of development in the new normal. So sa mga sharing ni Director or ni RD Carino, mga higala, nahisgutan niya ang pagmubo or contraction sa atong ekonomiya nga sa end of the year might contract no or muubos siya sa 2 to 4%. Gikan kini mga higala no sa 5 to 7% nga rate. Nya ang bukidnon kuno di ay naatay mga ingon pa niya positive side no because ang bukidnon na ay top 10 producer of agricultural products. Ubay-ubay mga higala ka mga commodities, agricultural commodities nga ang bukidnon mo ay naa sa top 10. Matudosab ni RD Carino, ang NEDA regularly recalibrates their plan in times of, especially in the times of COVID, na ako no'y continuous checking and monitoring of the rehabilitation and recovery plan. So in the first place, we were so happy nga naa ay recovery plan nga naandam and gina-monitor kini og always gina-recalibrate. Matudosab ni RD Carino, significant intervention done by NEDA to help the citizens. Okay? Naikunoy moratorium or suspension on payments for loans, utilities, rental fees, etc. in cooperation with the private sector. So, isa pud sa mga naliwanagan ta last episode, partner, no, nga dako day kayo ang role sa private sector. Dugang pa, partner, naa siya'y panawagan no, sa mga young generation to invest in farming. Morning isa sa mga highlights gud na ako nadumduman no kay matud pa there's a growing population. The average age of the farmer is now 52 years old. From the research conducted, unya ang implication kuno ani mga higala kinsa na lang man ang mo atiman sa mga yuta in the future no to foster the growth in the agriculture sector.
Okay, partner. Salamat kay sa imong gihatag nga recap no matis na bal-an nato unsay mga hitabo, unsay nang hisgutan ato ni aging semana sa atong programa.
Ubay-ubay sa partner na share ni Engineer Gamboa no.
So it's very interesting with that no kay especially karon nga atong ekonomiya medyo wala pa di na to maklaro unsay dagan karong tapos na sa tuig.
Right.
Okay, partner, before ta magstorya kapod karong orasa sa ato ang bag-ong topic, maminaw sa kita og isa ka og magtan-aw sa usa ka video message gikan kini sa ato ang Vice President for Research and Extension and International Affairs si Dr. Joy Emersol o sa atong pagbalik atong paghisgutan.
Pag ang bitay daw huwag kaulian, share to heal, was conceived out of our experience during the enhanced community quarantine. When the entire world came face to face with the reality of COVID-19 pandemic. At that time, relevant and accurate information was necessary to support government effort on mitigating the virus. Now that we are moving forward to the new normal, it is also essential that the right information is available, considering that we are traversing a path that is different from what we are accustomed to. Awareness will result to appropriate behavior change and can greatly help us overcome the challenges and seize the opportunity of this new and better normal. We are grateful to our partners, the city government of Malaybalay under the leadership of Mayor Florencio T. Flores Jr. and the 2nd Congressional District of Bukidnon through Representative Attorney John Keith T. Flores. This collaboration will hopefully provide a platform for academic discussion and insights on the various aspects of the new normal, of course, with our invited credible speakers. We are excited to see all of you sa kahanginan o sa digital world.
Yes, partner. Time check. It's now 9:15 in the morning. O kauban niya po ninyo karon, no? Anyong partner Walter Balani o Andre Cabigas para sa ato ang programang pag-ambitay daw ag kaulian. Karong na atong i-introduce atong before nato introduce atong speaker partner, ato sang taga-ang gamayng background ng atong mga tigpaminaw kabahin sa ato ang topic karong adlaw. Og mao kining ang atong topic, unang topic mao kini ang data anti-terrorism law under the new normal. So unsa man kaning anti-terrorism? So muna yung mga pangutana sa it has been kinang tawag ani medyo naistoryahan kini sa mga katawan labi na sa TV, sa social media at mga pipila ka adlaw, pero karong adlaw matagaan pagidta og dugang pang kabalo kung unsa kining anti-terrorism law. Mo kini ang RA 11479 o Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020. Kani gipirmahan ni Presidente President Rodrigo Duterte atong July 3, 2020. Repealed and effectively replaced the Human Security Act of 2007 niadtong July 18, 2020. Okay, so karon atong mapamati ang ato ang guest partner para mas mapalawom pa o eksplikar ang kaning maong Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020. Labi na karon sa panahon sa new normal.
O mga higala, no, ang atong guest karong buntaga, ang una natong mga guest, no, para sa una nga topic, ang atong Dean Tony Labinya, Professor of Law, Governance and Philosophy, among others, of UP College of Law, Ateneo de Manila University, San Veda Graduate School of Law, Xavier University College of Law, and Liceo de Cagayan College of Law. Cagayanon po ni siya, partner. Born and raised in Cagayan de Oro, and one of the Pride Guild of Mindanao, number 3 in the 1989 bar, former DNR Undersecretary, and he took his exams, master's, and doctorate in law from Yale University. I'm proud also to say that he's a writer, a columnist at Minda News. No? So no other than, ladies and gentlemen, Attorney Antonio Vina. Maayong buntag, sir.
Maayong buntag to all of you and sa all the officials of Bukidnon State University, and of course the students, the teachers, and all the listeners and watchers in those watching din sa Bukidnon og all over. I'm sure daghan ga follow sa inyo all over the world.
Thank you very much, sir. Attorney, RA 11479, or the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, signed into law by the President Rodrigo Duterte on July 3, 2020, repealed and effectively replaced the Human Security Act of 2007 or 2007 on July 18, 2020. Sir, can you walk us through the Human Security Act of 2007 and what issues and concerns of this law are supposed to be addressed by RA 11479?
So just start by saying and recognizing, especially kay taga Mindanao man tatanan, no, dinhi, that terrorism is in fact a real problem. So I will not deny that. I will never deny that. Even my city, Cagayan de Oro, has experienced bombings. Just a month ago, sa Holo, we had a big bombing. Sa Davao, we have bombings. I mean, from what I remember, parang Bukidnon has been spared. At least yung yung major terrorist attacks like that, no. But it's a problem, and so therefore it has to be fixed, no. So the Human Security Act of 2007 tried to do that, define terrorism as a crime, establish procedures for dealing with it, highlighted, especially yung financing of terrorism. So marami dagan siya marami siyang allowed for arrest without warrants and detention without charges up to 10 days, no. Now at this point I want to say na as a human rights lawyer, even the Human Security Act for me was draconian. Ibig sabihin pasabot na many of those provisions were not really necessary to deal with terrorism. Kasi the important thing about terrorism is good intelligence, di ba? You have to have good intelligence and you have to intervene very early on. Similar to what the soldiers in Holo were doing before they were killed by the police, di ba? Prevention is always the best of terrorism, and that's really done by really just good intelligence. But the positive part of the Human Security Act, the Congress realizing na this was still on the time of GMA, but Congress realized na pwede siya ma-abuse, so ang daming safeguards. For example, if you are arrested illegally and the policeman knew it was illegal, or if you were tortured, the policemen or the military people or intelligence people would be held liable. They could be charged, prosecuted, criminally as well as civilly. Di ba? Para dili nila basta-basta lang i-abuse ang ilang power kasi it gave them a lot of power. Anti-terrorism law always gives the government more power. That's a given. So the Human Security Act was like that. It gave the Commission on Human Rights power to investigate, to go after those who abuse the powers given to it. Ang problema, according to the government, and I follow the process sa House of Representatives, I was invited several times to testify on the bill, nung bill pa ng anti-terrorism. Iyon sa government, ineffective daw ang Human Security Act. I think if ever man, 1 or 2 prosecutions lang ang nag-succeed, very few prosecutions were even done, di ba? Very few arrests were being done. Even sa Marawi, di ba? Lately lang na siya, 3 years ago. Gamay lang na arrested dito. And almost all of them were released, di ba? Of course, dagan namatay sa Pinusila, no? In the firefight. But in terms of arrest, the people who were arrested, if I'm not mistaken, were almost all uniformly released after a few days because klaro man na wala sila lakip-lakip sa siege of Marawi, no. So for the government, ang problema is the law. But for me, the problem has never been about the law. It's about enforcement, di ba? It's about intelligence. So I'll give you an example of the failure of the Human Security Act, not of the law but of the intelligence. Nag-file sila. In the first place, they shouldn't have filed a terrorism charge against the Communist Party of the Philippines. Kasi legally, the crimes that the NPA commit is not terrorism, but rebellion. Settled naman yan that's rebellion, that's not terrorism. Terrorism when you bomb indiscriminately. For example, kung magratatat ka, mag-machine gun ka sa mga tao without any chaos, yung mga inaana. But when you fight a government for whatever ends that you have, that's rebellion. Settled na for 100 years na settled na crime, and by distinction between terrorism and rebellion. So the government under the Human Security Act filed terrorism against the Communist Party of the Philippines. And over a few hundred people, kiuban nila. What happened? Almost every case against every person was dismissed. Nga naman, they were all bad intelligence. Patay na ang mga tao. Dugay na dili aktibo ang mga tao sa they included all the activists in the 80s. Di ba? Gilakip-lakip nila tanan ng mga aktivista without distinction. Kung NDF ba, kung SOCDEM ba, kung unsa ba na klase na daghan mga pari gipang lakip, mga madre gipang lakip, stupid, di ba? Very bad intelligence. So of course the court dismisses that. Diba? And right now, I think there's 8 people remained out of 200 na parang gano'n na klase na That's not a problem of law, if you ask me. That's a problem of intelligence, a problem of implementation. So then ang context, the government said, we are failing on terrorism. We are not able to deal with terrorism. Therefore, we need a new law. But I will tell you, Marawi, kasi that's near us, Marawi, 2 months before the siege, everyone was already whispering about it. Diba na mga Maute were moving to Marawi, daghan mga ISIS, daghan mga bata na ano because of the problems there, diba? Why did the government not act decisively? I don't think it's about the law. Eventually they acted and then naggera na, diba? When they tried to arrest him, I think Marwan or whoever was one of the Indonesian leaders, diba? And then nagira na nagsugod na ang siege after that. But months before, kabalo naman. Kung kabalo gali ko, dapat balo ang military, di ba?
Yes.
Because everyone was talking about it. Balo man ko kasi I teach a lot of people in Marawi and I teach a lot of both professors and also students. I mean, and that was the talk of the town. So nothing to do with the anti-terror law to fix terrorism. You just need good investigation, good implementation of the law, good prosecution, yun ang kailangan mo. And that I support, but not the anti-terrorism law.
Okay, sir. Did the definition of terrorism change, sir, from the 2007 law to our current law? Nagbago ba, sir?
Yes. Yes and no. Let's put it this way. The core meaning of terrorism, the one I told you, kanang pagbobomba, creating chaos, remained, no? That's still there. But from 2 crimes in the Human Security Act, terrorism and conspiracy to commit terrorism, gi-expand na siya to I think 8 or 9 other crimes, no? And that's what makes it dangerous. For example, kalakip na sa different ang penalties ha. Pag terrorism, life imprisonment na. But na inciting to terrorism, na anay proposal to commit terrorism, na anay support for terrorism. So daghan na kayo acts na gilakip, di ba? Which is why the main critique of the anti-terror law is that it punishes ordinary dissent. And no longer, parang ano ba kanang gitawag na mo na sa governance, mission creep. Diba? Ang mission nimo dakpon ang terrorist. Kani ang mission nimo dakpon na ang mga dissenters. Na nabuang na. You will not succeed in dakpon ang terrorist kay gidaghan man nimong dakpon. From imong dakpon 200, 300, maybe 1,000 people, karon 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 people na. From imong kontra, kaning mga 1,000, 2,000 na terrorists, mahimo nag tens of thousands imong kontra. Dili lang kasi ang mga tao nagakaput og armas, and not all nagakaput sa armas na against the government, as I said, is terrorist, no? Na ay rebel, na ay terrorist. Rebel, we always negotiate, di ba? MNLF, MILF, NPA. We have always negotiated with that. Because precisely, different yung revolutionary and rebel from terrorists. But when you expand ang imong kontra, dili lang sa mga kaput sa armas, but even ang mga protesta, you have a problem. Diba? Because now you will have so many people to investigate, so many people to follow, so many people to prosecute. So that is really the bad part of the law. The worst part of the law is it expands terrorism to ordinary dissent. I criticize the government. You can criticize the government. Under our law, under the Bill of Rights, you can criticize the government. Bisag sayop ka, you can. Because that's the essence of democracy. Without criticism, government will fail 100%. We have seen that time and again. Government always fails pag walay dissent, pag walay ability to question. That's why we have schools. That's why you have universities. So we can ask questions, di ba? So, but when you criminalize that, and the anti-terror law criminalizes that, then that's a problem, di ba? Because it doesn't solve terrorism, but it makes the country, it makes dissent illegal. I just want to qualify, no, kasi para to say lang na I'm objective about this. Nakabutang sa law noon that dissent, ordinary dissent, is not terrorism. It's not punishable, di ba? Even a strike of workers, students walking out of their classes, dili na siya terrorism. The law says that. But my problem is, after it says that, di ba? So una yun siya, terrorism includes this dissent, di ba? But actually, if it's a legitimate exercise of constitutional rights, walay lakip. And then napag yung exception, munang gitawag na ko exception to the exception. Exception na ang dissent, gihimo pag exception na if that dissent leads to violence, leads to disorder, then it's terrorism. So pananglitan ng ibang mga estudyante sa Bukidnon State University, no? Nag-walk out sila sa klase. Bisag unjustified. Let's say unjustified, di ba? Nag-walk out sila sa klase. Nag-demonstrate sila, di ba? Na sila yung mga placard. Ano siya tawag sa mga aktivista karon, they call it universal freeze, di ba? Parang ayaw sa pag-eskwela kay dili pa ta prepared. You can disagree with that. I actually disagree with that. But that's the call, di ba? And they do that. Di ba karon right now unsa nangalan quarantine akon man ta kan ng ang Bukidnon siguro naka GCQ mo, no?
Yes.
Or MGCQ whatever, but July. But still bawal ang mass gatherings, di ba? And the police have been arresting people. Dili ka ng mga agtug Manila Bay na mga tao, but they arrest people that are protesting, no? Let's say arrest nila ang mga protesto. Sa Cebu they did that. Ang mga estudyante nagdagan sa sulod sa UP. Kaya di man bawal man musulod sa UP ang mga pulis. Nagdagan ng mga estudyante, giapa sila, naggubot, di ba? That becomes terrorism. Thankfully in Cebu, the judge was very clear. Constitutional right of students to protest. They cannot be arrested when they protest, quarantine or not. Di ba?
Yes, sir.
So yun, the problem lang is any expression of dissent, as I said, can become violent even without the fault of the persons protesting, rallying. So now, ordinary protest can easily become a terrorist act under this law.
Okay, sir, before the question on the social media, we have a representative here from the faculty, and he's going to ask questions from the social media that we have gathered. Sir, may I ask, sir, on the other side, the United Nations have also accordingly required the Philippines to file this law. And in fact, in the justifications for the law, they were saying that this is patterned from other countries' laws also on anti-terrorism. Are there merits in terms of the need to control terrorism? And is this true, sir, na ang mga threats are really growing and increasing as the years go by?
Yes, that's why I began my the interview kanina with categorically saying that terrorism is a problem. It's a problem in the world. It's a problem in the Philippines. It's a problem for us in Mindanao, and it's a growing problem, no, because of many reasons. And yes, an anti-terrorism law improvement have been requested for us, but mainly on the international side. Wala ko objection sa mga international aspects particularly the use of funds to use for terrorism. I'm very much in favor, no, of allowing the government to stop and, diba, to investigate the funds, diba? Pero dapat nakalimit siya lang. Again, I go back to nakalimit siya sa totoong tinuod na terrorism. I'll give you an example of kasi okay man na. But for example, what violates international law sa atong terrorism act, the new anti-terrorism law, is it punishes people helping other people in disasters. Can you imagine that? Kay pwede siya mahimog support to terrorism. I'll give you an example of how this works, in Mindanao. Sa Marawi, di ba? Daghan gyapon kay tao na displaced. Conceivably, some of those people that have been displaced are sympathizers, di ba? Or could be attracted to the ISIS or whatever, di ba? Or certainly are critical of the government. Bisag dili sympathizer but critical of the government. Kumutabang ko sa ila, and then i-brand sila terrorist na sagko. Same with lumad, no? Kabalo ka, daghan lumad sa sa Bukidnon, di ba? The lumad is often caught in a crossfire between the government and the NPA. We know that. I know that. I have been an indigenous people's rights lawyer, a lawyer for the lumad for 30 years na including sa Ato, sa Mindanao, including sa Bukidnon. They're always caught in the middle between the NPA and the government. So they often evacuate, di ba? Their schools are destroyed by the government, or the NPA kills some of them. I mean, it's both ways. I know that. I know concrete experience of both sides, di ba? Let's say na yung mga lumad na nag-evacuate sa Malaybalay, tabangan nimo, di ba? Tabangan ninyo sa school. Pwede na mo ma-charge karon of supporting terrorism if those lumad, let's say, are critical of the government because of what the government has done. That is a violation of international law. Kasi yung international humanitarian law requires that we allow organizations to help people in need. So even international organizations are now scrambling. What can they do in the Philippines kung na ay typhoon? Di ba? Can we actually help people already? Di ba? We pointed that, by the way, dili ni kanang invento, we pointed that out sa Congress. And they tried to fix it, pero still they said that they put their international humanitarian organizations are exempt from this. But that's so vague. That's so vague. And how about Philippine organizations helping Filipinos? Bawal?
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, this is Andre Cabigas, no? And karon kauban nato ang among faculty and chairperson of the Sociology and Social Science Department to give his questions nga nakuha sa gikan sa social media. Sir Richie, kolegado, sir. Yes, Sir Richie.
Thank you so much, Sir Andre. Good morning, Attorney Tony. I am part of the social media research team of this program. I have searched the internet, and I'll only give one question since the other question was already answered a while ago. This question is about the IRR. So there are many articles, news articles on the fast tracking of the IRR, of the anti-terror law, as it has always been treated as urgent and extremely necessary. What provisions, Attorney Tony, are we expecting in the IRR that can ensure that it will not be subject to abuse and it will safeguard our rights as enshrined in the Constitution po?
Thank you. The most important would be yung definition of the crimes, no? Ang problema dito sa mga crimes na ako na-mention, ang terrorism, okay lang, that is actually defined, no? But all the other crimes I mentioned are very vague. One sentence, diba? For example, if you incite people to terrorism, you are going to be punished by X number of years. Walay definition sa inciting to terrorism. Walay definition sa proposal to commit terrorism. Walay definition or one line definition. Useless. From a legal point of view, I cannot advise a client if he is committing terrorism or not from the law. Now, of course, they will try to fix that sa sa IRR, but I think it's still the problem is still the law kasi you cannot really fix a problem in the law with the IRR. But to be positive, no, I mean, I was also asked whether there's something positive about the ATL, no, I mean, the anti-terrorism law. There's a section in the law that is its most important section na unta ma-expand nila sa IRR properly, which is simple and correct. It says that the problem of terrorism is a social problem, not a military problem, not an intelligence or a police problem. It's a problem of injustice. It's a problem of, this is the law, this is not me talking. The law is saying this. The problem is injustice, it's alienation, it's poverty, diba? That is the solution to terrorism. Fix that, diba? Fix your inequality, your poverty, your social injustice, your alienation. Fix that, and terrorism will be gone without having to arrest anyone, without having to kill anyone. So I hope the IRR will will develop that and have specific provisions on what government programs will be done to deal with the roots of terrorism. Kasi 90% of the law, unfortunately, symptoms lang of terrorism is being addressed and not the roots of terrorism, which is the bigger problem.
Thank you, Sir Tony, for pointing that. That's the only question I had. I'll turn back the microphone to the anchors.
Okay, thank you, Sir Richie. Sir Tony, I also have a bit of a question. No? Since this is a very hot topic nowadays, especially now that we are in the new normal, in this time especially, how does this anti-terrorism law affect the average people, the mga taong bayan, sir? Especially now that most of them are, especially in the law, it is stated no na makasilti lang ka something against the government, you are liable to be a suspect or something. So how does this affect, sir, in a normal person, especially now nga gatubang ta mostly sa ato ang mga cellphones, laptops na siguro natin masaway, makriticize gamay sa government. Are we liable for this as a citizen, sir?
Na-danger naman yung mga liable. I won't lie about that. No? I mean, bisag ka mo, your radio personalities, no? I mean, and you're in a university, na ay academic freedom, di ba, na freedom to express. I will not deny that. I mean, kasi that's irresponsible for me to say na don't worry, you will not be endangered. But so far, the judges and hopefully the Supreme Court, the picture I have in my background, di ba, is the Supreme Court when we filed. I'm the lawyer of indigenous peoples from Igorots in Cordillera to Lumad in I think we have Bukidnon, Davao, and Miss Or, no, sa among mga clients, and then also Moros from Marawi. I filed a case on their behalf. So far, the courts have been favoring the Bill of Rights and Human Rights. No, I mean, sa Cebu, di ba? Radyo man to na Facebook lang na po si si Bambi, I forgot her family name, but she posted something critical. Dili gali satirical gali, dili gali grabe ka nang muralag sige lagi mag na lang ta, magbalik lang ta sa isip, something like that. Criticism of the government because unfortunately the government has failed in containing this virus for us. No, I mean, has not been very good because of its police and military approach rather than its public health approach. Yan ang major criticism. So, nagbutang siya satire, gi-file siya, gi-arrest siya, gi-file siya charges, but right away, the court, I mean, in less than a few months, the court dismissed the case, no? Because there is no basis for that naman. If you are not, di ba, inciting people to throw bombs, di ba? If you are not a terrorist and not, you really should be, But naay siya, ang ordinary effect, anong gitawag nato na, na ay chilling effect ang anti-terror law to ordinary people to criticize the government. But ang advice na ako is we have to continue to assert our rights. Kay if you do not assert the rights, we lose it. Na nakasimple. If you do not assert your rights, you will lose your rights.
Okay, thank you for that, Sir Tony. I think Sir Walter na pa siya dugang na pangutana.
Sir Tony, sa panahon karon nga naata sa new normal o sa kaning sitwasyon nato sa pandemic, unsay mga implications na aning terror bill, unsay ato mga choke points or checkpoints baka no para masayran sa atong katauhan ang mga angayan nilang bantayan. Kung naaman
ang pinaka-importante is the decision by the Supreme Court, di ba? If I'm not mistaken, 35 cases na. Most number of cases ni na file na ay kami sa Lumad o Katutubo, kami ang nag-file, human rights lawyers, former Supreme Court justices, law professors, students and youth organizations, journalists, bloggers, women. Ang latest, I think, ang women ang nag-file just yesterday lang. Women organizations, I mean, religious, nag-file sila, all from a different perspective. I mean, so here there's, I think, a clear societal consensus that this is an unconstitutional law. So muna-una ni mo bantayan, no? Whether mag-TRO ang Supreme Court, whether mag-oral arguments ang Supreme Court, and what is the ultimate decision of the Supreme Court on the anti-terror law. Win or lose, I think it will be a win. Nga naman, kay at least the Supreme Court will actually say, no, walay lakip ang dissent ani, di ba? Kani dili ni pwede mo na mag-arrest ka lang without a warrant, di ba? Statements like that are very important from the Supreme Court. Ikaduha ang IRR, as mentioned earlier, sa implementing rules and regulations. That should come out soon also kasi 90 days daw, and they're fast-tracking it. Kasi the moment that is released, they'll be more aggressive in arresting people, di ba? And we will right away be able to test whether they will arrest terrorists or arrest people they do not like dissenters. Okay? Ang bantayan din nato ayo ani whether they will arrest people from the left, di ba? Congressman na makabayan who are just dissenting, di ba? Because that would be a real problem if they do that. No, yesterday ang Facebook took down lots of pages na mga link to the military or supposedly linked to anti-communist groups, no? In preparation man na to red tag people, including journalists, para pangdakpon din sila under the anti-terrorist law. So bantayan nato na siya because that's not right. And basig himuon na when the IRR is done. Hopefully the Department of Justice will stay, di ba? The Supreme Court just dismissed a case against Sara Ilago and other makabayan for kasi they were being attacked for being convincing daw young people to become activists. That is not a sin. That is not illegal. That is everyone's constitutional right to convince someone and to be convinced, di ba? And therefore dismissed ng Supreme Court. Sabi ng Supreme Court that this is basic. Very basic na, di ba? So that's the second thing. IRR, and then what they will do when the IRR is done. And for me, finally, the third most important thing to watch out, kung mag-succeed ba ni na Balaod to go after terrorism. And nakasimple, di ba? And it's not about, di ba? It's not about people in Manila being arrested for dissenting, people demonstrating. It's actual terrorists about to blow up a bomb in Jolo, di ba? Or in Marawi, or di ba? Or in Davao, or Cagayan de Oro. Muna nga akong because I don't think this law will help do that, di ba? Because that's only requires good investigation and good prosecution.
Sir Walter, ano pa ba iduang pangutana?
Yes, sir. You mentioned dissent as probably one of the most common petitions against the law. Are there other reasons or basis for the petition, sir, na common usab sa 32 ang gi-mention nimo, sir?
Yes, kaning mga provisions, I didn't mention that too much. Kana noon kay applicable lang na pagidakop ka, no? So most people I think dili man dakpon, di ba? Pero pag gidakop ka, the moment gidakop ka na, problema na ang mga provisions. Arrest without warrants is allowed. That's okay. I mean, that's okay in the sense na kung naa kay gahimuon na dautan, you're about to do it, pwede ka dakpon. Okay? But now, you can be detained up to 24 days. Kaya today, 14 days ang allowed sa Human Security Act. Karon nadudugang 10 days. 24 days na pwede ka i-detain without charges. 24 days na pwede ka i-torture. Na prohibited by law, prohibited by the Constitution, prohibited by international law, no? Surveillance, electronic surveillance can now be allowed for a longer period of time with little supervision of the judiciary. Provisionally being declared a terrorist. In other words, you can only be a terrorist once a court finds you to be a terrorist, di ba? Convicts you to be a terrorist after trial with due process. But karon the Anti-Terrorism Council can now provisionally designate na terrorist ka, worst terrorist in the organization. Di ba? And now with elections coming, that's very problematic kasi organizations can actually just be labeled as terrorists without proof, no? And that is really a judicial function.
Sir Tony, natay gamay nga question rin, no? Some of adjust palihog itong question. For the non-political science students or not very familiar with this word, sir, gamay lang ko nung background or konting meaning, giving meaning to the word dissenting. What is dissenting, sir? Siguro in a more simple way nga para sabtan sa itong mga, especially sa itong mga non-political science students.
Dissenting is not to agree to a government policy, to a majority position, and to criticize that position and to propose an alternative. So tulo na, I don't agree, I say it publicly, and I propose an alternative. That's legitimate dissent, that's required, that's allowed by that is not just allowed, but that is in fact encouraged by the Constitution. Simple lang ang reason why we are allowed to dissent. Because without dissent, I told you, government always fails. Always fails. Pag walay dissent. When you dissent, government corrects itself, di ba? Government can correct itself right away pag na-ay dissent.
Sir, so it has to be na-agyoy this alternative nga mga i-propose. Dili lang kasi disagree. Tama ba,
yeah,
sir?
Kasi then kung you're just disagreeing and shouting about it, di ba? I mean, you still have that right, but that is not very constructive. And that is when, di ba, things like chaos results. Di ba? And that's the definition of terrorism. Ang terrorism is also disagreeing with society, disagreeing with the government, using violence, guns, bombs, and creating chaos. You distinguish it from the MILF, the MNLF, the NPA, where they also use arms, but they have a goal. And therefore, you can talk to them because they have a goal. MILF and MNLF, at first independence, but in the negotiation with them, they agreed to autonomy. Yeah. I'm sure eventually we will come to an agreement with the NPA, with the CPP, because their goal is social justice. And that's also the goal of our Constitution. It's just the way of doing social justice. So, mo nang difference. But the Abu Sayyaf, the ISIS, you cannot talk to them, di ba? Because their goal is not autonomy, not social justice, di ba? Their goal is the destruction of society. How can you agree to that, di ba?
And you said, sir, that dissent is threatened by our anti-terror bill, anti-terror law. It's that the current law is threatening that dissent.
Very much.
Okay, sir. I'm pretty sure daghan pa kay itong tagtadang istoryan because our topic is very, very interesting, no? Pero karon, sir, time is nearly at an end. And sir, gusto mi mangayo, no? Unsa imong mahatag as a final message and closing statement para sa itong mga tigpaminaw og viewers karon, sir.
Okay. I always tell my audience, and especially my students, because I teach in many schools and but also talk a lot, give talks a lot, di ba? Never to lose hope and faith, diba? Because we have gone through this a number of times, no? And I'm not just talking about martial law, no, yung the Marcos experience where thousands of people were also killed, where dissent was not allowed. Other young people and old people, also us, we went through this during World War II with the Japanese occupation. Very bad things happened there. If you want to push it forward, there's the Philippine-American War also, when lots of Filipinos suffered because of oppression. And then you have the 1896 revolution, we know that, diba? So our history is replete with resistance, and always it ends, diba? Always it ends. So yun lang, have faith, be strong, Be careful. I always say that, pagbantay, di ba? Pagbantay, amping, because that's also very important to be in solidarity with others, di ba? And if you do that, we will prevail, and justice will prevail, and human rights will prevail.
Okay.
Daghang salamat Attorney Antonio Lavinia.
Thank you very much,
Ang
sir.
atong kagay-anon nga guest karon, no, luminary siya gyud sa ato ang law and order diri sa Pilipinas, and we are very thankful sa mga gi-share niya nga pagpadayag o paghatag og kahayag, no, sa mangitngit nga discussion may tungod sa anti-terror law. Salamat kaayo, sir.
Salamat, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ang next ninyo na guest, ang next ninyo na guest, studente na ako, good friend na ako si Dana, very brilliant lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Tony. Alright, partner, atong time check, 9:54 na in the morning. Ang nagyapon ta kauban ninyo, yung partner Walter Balani ug Andre Cabigas diri gyapon sa pag-ambitay Awdaw Kolian. Og atong i-greet ng atong mga tigpaminaw partner, no, while break tag medyo gamay para sa in preparation sa atong next na guest. No, so atong i-greet ang atong mga estudyante, na ba kay mga students partner na naimbitahan karon sa pagtan-aw sa atong programa.
Ato mga estudyante sa trends and issues in economics, in Philippine development, economic development, no, so sa tulo ka section, no, salamat kung nakapaminaw manggaling mo, naka-access mo sa internet, hinaot nga na namoy nakutlo unya unsa dayon nga or issue ang naigo sa atong discussion karong buntag nga dunay implikasyon sa economic development, no? So
sa ako sang mga estudyante sa NSTP, medyo igo kayo ning among topic labi na sa amohang topic sa national security concerns. So kani kinahanglan ning kaning mahibal-an nila og ayo labi na kay sila, no, sa sulti na ni Attorney Tony Lavinia, sila ang may dakong parte nang they are encouraged to to dissent, no, to sa to ang atong tawag sa dissenting partner, ang tulo ka points na gihatag ni attorney
na kay disagreement, dayon na kay alternative
and criticize, no, and
criticize publicly express nimo, no, so tulo ka elements.
Pinaka-importante ako na ganahan muhatag siya og alternatives. Di kay mo reklamo lang. So dili kompleto yung pag-dissent kung dili ka muhatag og alternatives.
Ang ngayon sa jud ni nga maklaro sad siya, partner, kay bisan pag ang balaod man good partner, no, ang mga lawyers ay mga proponents lugar sa law, ana gid sila kung wala kay buhaton nga plano nga buhaton nga daotan, di ka kinahanglan mahadlok ani. Pero it appears from the discussion sa karon nato nga buntag, no, nga bisan day wala kay plano nga daotan pero nakatabang ka atong mga giakusahan, so posible di ay ka nga
liable kuno ka, no, nga pwede ka arestuhon o appeal.
And 24 days, partner. Unya ang nidakop ang nidakop sa imo, kiskintahay gidakop ka for whatever reason. Dili ako, ikaw lang.
Si
Chas kindahay gidakop siya na 24 ka adlaw, una 14 days lang na extension nga 10 days. 24 days ka nga walay warrant of arrest nga gi-arrest. What if wrongful ang pag-arrest sa imo, wala gyapoy liability or punishment ang nidakop, makascape siya matud pa sa balaod, according to Attorney Lavinia.
So partner, no, interesado gid itong interesting itong mga topics ron. Nung sunod na itong topic bahin sa kani sa privasiya sa itong mga data o information. So mag-break ta kadjot and we'll be back after a short while with, of course, our topic and our second guest karong taod-taod. So stand by mga kapartner. Dili lang ta sa DXB 104.5 sa pag-abitay daw ag kaulian.
We'll be right back.
104.5 DXDFL.
Matod sa World Health Organization, ang coronavirus disease 2019 o COVID-19 usa ka respiratory illness nga pwede kang matakdan. Hinungdan sa sintomas sama sa hilanat, ubo, sakit sa kalawasan, lakip, labag sa ulo o kalibanga. Ang pasyente nga natapdan sa COVID-19 pwede magka-pneumonia o gikinahanglan nga dadon sa balay tambalanan. Apektado ang tibuok kalibutan ni ini nga sakit o giila ang COVID-19 isip pandemic disease. Unsa para sa matag pamilya ang COVID-19? Importante nga mapasabot sa matag miyembro ang mga lakang aron malikayan ang sakit. Tudluan, hilabi na ang mga bata o katigulangan sa saktong pagatiman sa kaugalingon. Ipahilayo sila sa mga miyembro nga adunay sakit. Ang mga miyembro sa pamilya nga adunay special health care needs sama sa asthma, diabetes o cancer, ikinahanglan nga mapalayo sa dagkong tapok aron malikayan ang komplikasyon. Kini nga sugyot pahibalo gikan sa Bukidnon State University og lokal nga pagagamhanan sa syudad sa Malaybalay pinaagi sa City Health Office. Provincial Disaster Emergency Operation for COVID-19 ug mga estasyonan nga miyembro sa kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas Bukidnon Chapter.
Kami naga-anunsyo, paminaw kamo, importante nga mensahe among ipahibalo. Katawhan sa dakbayan sa Malaybalay, nagaawag ni di mo gawa sa inyong balay. Ato kini katagaan og pagtagad aron masulbad ang problema sa atong syudad. Inyong kooperasyon ng among kinahanglan para ni sa tanan natong kaayuhan. Permit mugasi ang inyong kamot, ginikanan bantayi inyong anak ay kalimot. Prioridad namo ang inyong seguridad, pag-ampo kaluwasan ni ini kalamidad.
Written and composed by Nignax. Kini nga kampanya batog sa COVID-19 nagikan sa Rotary Club of Malaybalay, pinaagi sa Bukidnon State University, inubanan sa BukSU 104.5 FM.
Your educational and community-based radio station, BukSU 104.5. It's more than just music.
Yes, welcome back mga partner no diri sa pag-ambitay daog kaulian. Atong mga viewers din atong i-encourage ang uban sa pag-share pagid sa atong stream sa FB Live para mas daghan pa ang atong makatan-aw karong buntaga. And of course, later on palihog mi no og answer or fill in sa evaluation forms. Ang link na sa ato ang comment section sa atong stream, and then later on sad pwede mo maghatag og dugang questions diha gihapon sa ato ang comment section sa ato ang live stream. Partner?
Yes, partner, no, atong gidasig ang atong mga kauban pud nga mga faculty, mga non-teaching personnel. Una-una sa tanan, hi, hello, salamat sa inyong pagsubaybay. Nga i-share no ang ato ang link aron mas daghan gyud sama sa giingon ni sir nga makasabot sa mga issues nga atong hisgutan karon nga episode.
Yes, partner, ang ato ang before ko muhatag sa itong topic na ato day pong i-welcome ang atong kauban si Ma'am Leo Layos, ato faculty sa Philosophy Department, member sa atong social media team. Mag-uban sa ato karon para sa paghatag siyang pangutana later on sa ato ang guest speaker. O ang ato ang sunod na topic, sunan kani very important especially now in the new normal no. Siguro again related gihapon sa atong topic ganiya nga more nowadays most of us kung di man galing kita tanan nga naghatag og always atubang no, and data is very dali ma-share karong mga panahon na. So what to give a background sa atong topic karon ato nga nangyoon si atong partner Sir Walter Balani sa paghatang gamayng background sa ato ang topic karon.
Okay, ang topic nato partner no is data privacy in the new normal. O ang atong mahimong speaker, atong guest para mahatag sa tuwa og mga pagpasabot sa maong topic. Walay lain kundi si Attorney Dana Batnag no. So na-meet ni nako si Attorney Dana Batnag sa AIM no, nagdungan mi og isa ka conference and na-attract ko sa iyang expertise no ang data privacy. And so nakita ra gid mi balik. Ako gyud culprit and I'm the culprit why she's here with us. According to Attorney Vina, she's a brilliant student, no?
Mm.
And as a lawyer, she has a strong background in media and communication. No, so tungod kay journalist siya for a number of years, no, for the longer time, no. She became a lawyer in 2014, and then she's currently connected sa isa ka company, no, where she is head of policy and risk management under the Data Privacy Office.
Okay, so welcome Attorney Dana Batnag. Ma'am,
Dana.
Dana, sorry. Dana Batnag. Ma'am, magandang umaga po. Kasama niyo
Hello,
po ngayon
good morning.
Andre Cabigas and of course ang
Malinaw.
aming partner si Sir Walter Balani and of course ang aming member ng aming social media team si Ma'am Glio Layos. Ma'am, good morning.
Good morning. Naririnig ako?
Yes
Opo.
po, ma'am. Loud and clear po.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. So, attorney, can you provide us with a context on why the Data Privacy Act was enacted and what do you think are the situations or issues that paved the way, no? Bakit po ginawa ito na legislation ng ating mga lawmakers?
Actually, if you check, nagsimula siya mga 2004, 2005, but it was really for the BPO industry. It was meant to make the BPO industry more competitive because they can protect data. Sa ibang bansa kasi, they're starting to enact data privacy laws, but then they're passing on the data to us. So the question then was, how can we protect the data that are required to be protected dun sa ibang bansa? Kasi tayo yung nagpa-process. So nag-start siya with a DTI administrative order. But then when they were crafting it, they were consulting with a lot of EU commissioners. Kaya ang data privacy law natin is heavily patterned or mostly patterned after the data privacy law ng European Union, which is the GDPR. Kaya ang advantage noon is if you're compliant with the data privacy law, you're likely to be 90% compliant with the GDPR sa European Union law. So if you're the BPO, for example, that's working with companies based in Europe, likely na data privacy compliant ka na. You won't have to make much changes. Malaki yung difference no kasi noon, di ba, BPO lang yung main concern. Pero ngayon, in a pandemic, we're all going online. So when we make online payments, like yung I work with Bayad Center makes sure that your data is protected. Kasi what if magbayad ka through a mobile app and then magkaroon ng data breach? May responsibility ba yung mobile app sa iyo? Can you actually claim for damages? Pag ang data mo, for example, sa school, may isang case na may isang student who was bragging that he can manipulate the grades. Tapos pinost niya sa Facebook, parang paano kung ganun. Ano yung liability ng school? So mas applicable ngayon because we're all processing data online. And then everyone's collecting data from us. I mean, punta ka sa Starbucks, di ba? They're going to get your data, they're going to trace you. So kung makikita doon kung sang Starbucks shop ka madalas magpunta, di ba? So would you want to know kung ano yung lumalabas when your data is collected or don't you care? Yon.
Attorney, should we care? Ano possibilities ng breaches? Recent examples siguro ng breaches that would call us or alert us on that the threat or the risk that we are facing here?
Well, ang isang pinaka-controversial, pinaka-well-publicized breach was the COMELEC, the leak ng COMELEC information, right? So, kung nagpapanggap kang younger, pagkatapos na-leak yung voter information mo, sorry na lang, I have a friend who pretends she's 10 years younger, ganon, bistado ka na. If you have a stalker and you haven't changed your address, doon ka pa rin nag-ano, alam na niya kung saan ang bahay mo. Ang danger right now, why should you care? For example, remember yung sa mga taxi, you're supposed to put in your data pag sumakay ka, right, for contact tracing. So papapirmahin ka lang usually sa notebook lang, right? Paano kung yung sumakay pagkatapos mo, kilala ka? Pero hindi niya alam yung contact number mo. pagbigay sa kanya nung taxi driver, aha, sumakay pala sa taxi to. Or paano kung asawa mo yung sumakay, nag-date ka pala, ginamit mo yung taxi niyo. Sabi mo sa asawa mo, nasa office ka, tapos chinika ng asawa mo yung taxi driver. Tatandaan mo ba itong sumakay? Yung mga pangatlo, ganitong oras, nakalagay dito sa logbook. Yon. Or, hindi naman na-publicize to, kwento lang. Pumasok sila sa isang store. Pagkatapos nila, di login information. Pagkatapos noon, may nagpe-friend sa kanya sa Facebook. How would you feel? Diba? Lalo na kung if it was your teenage daughter, na pagkatapos na maglagay ng contact details doon sa store, merong nagte-text sa kanya na, "Hi, sexy. Pwede ba tayong maging textmate?"
Okay. So, attorney, ano ba yung mga, let's go over to the silent provisions of the Data Privacy Act. Ano ba yung nilalaman ng Data Privacy Act na dapat siguro ma-emphasize at malaman ng mga nanonood sa atin?
Okay. Well, ang basically yung isang basic important provision ng Data Privacy Act is the principles ng data processing and collecting. It has to be transparent, it has to have a legitimate purpose, and it has to be proportional. So whoever collects your data, you have the right. Tapos connected tong principles na ito sa data subject rights. So whoever collects your data, if for example, a department store is collecting your data for the purposes of contact tracing, can you say no? You can't. May legitimate purpose. It's according to law. But what are your rights as a data subject? You have the right to know what data is being collected on you and why it's being collected and how it's being processed. So in some stores, makikita mo may maliliit silang contact forms, right? Tapos nakalagay doon. Kukunin lang nila yung phone number, yung address, tapos nakalagay this is in accordance with. Tapos nakalagay this will be deleted after 30 days in accordance with the rules of the National Archive, ganyan. Because you need to know gaano katagal i-store yung data mo. Kasi pag tapos na yung legitimate purpose, it's only meant for contact tracing. 30 days, wala pang nagkakasakit, di ka na kailangan i-contact trace, di ba? So they have to delete your data. They cannot keep your data pag walang reason for keeping it. So yon. And then yung proportionality. That's why meron ako nakitang contact tracing form being used by a barangay. Pati religion, pati gender. Importante pa yung religion sa contact tracing. Namimili ba ng religion yung COVID? Right? That's why, if you look at yung mga malalaking stores, basics, address, phone number, name, and then date. Para kung yung nagkaroon ng COVID outbreak doon, then they will know kung sino yung mga kailangang i-contact. Kasi parang nagkasakit yung staff namin on this day, nakita namin galing kayo sa store. So yon, those are the three principles. So when somebody asks for your data, always remember what is the purpose. May isang advisory opinion, and I discussed this with Walter last year. There was a lifestyle check that was being done. And as part of the lifestyle check, yung school, nung anak nung nila lifestyle check was asked for the records of the school. So ang tanong ng school, should we give the records? Okay, ang advisory opinion ng National Privacy Commission, ang sabi sa kanila, ano ba yung reason? Diba? If it's a lifestyle check, so dapat yung in connection lang with the lifestyle check, do you need to give all the grades of the children? Kung merong mga disciplinary actions taken dahil siguro nakipagdaldala sa classmate, do you need to give that? Only in connection. So remember always yung proportionality. Hindi mo pwedeng ibigay lahat ng data mo. So that's one, right? The principles. You have to remember the principles kasi connected yun sa data subject rights. So what are the data subject rights? And this is important because we're all data subjects and these are our rights that we can ask from anyone who collects and processes our data. You have the right to information. You have the right to know how your data is being handled. Who is handling it? Pangalawa, you have the right to access. You have the right to know what data is being collected on you. So halimbawa, sinabi ng PNP, right, magko-collect kami sa social media ng evidence ng violation ng social distancing. Tapos kasama ka sa nakunan ng picture, right? Can you say sa PNP, may data privacy ako? No, because they have the right as the police to collect evidence, right? But you can ask them, paano niyo pinaprocess yung data ko? How are you protecting it? Who else are you giving it to? Kasi kinolect nyo, pero are you sharing it with anyone else? Ganon. And then that's the right to information, the right to access, and then you have the right to modification. Kung mali yung data na kinolect sa iyo, you can actually correct. So halimbawa, typographical errors, or kung halimbawa ni-red tag ka, tapos pinost ka sa social media post. Komunista yan eh, or hindi, ASG yan, terorista yan, right? And you're not a terrorist. Or inedit yung photo pagkatapos nilagay na nasa bundok ka samantalang wala ka naman sa bundok, di ba? Then you can say na hindi po, andito ako at this time, nakunan ako ng CCTV, nasa Starbucks po ako nagkakape. If you can prove, then you have the right to modify. And then you have the right to block. In cases where consent is necessary, kasi may cases na hindi kailangan ng consent to collect your data. Kagaya nung sinabi ko example, di ba? When the PNP is doing their duty as the police, then you can say, may data privacy ako, ayoko ibigay sa inyo yung data ko. I'm sorry, iniimbestigahan ka ho namin. Ikaw ho yung nakitang nanaksak doon sa tao. So, hindi pwede yun, right? But, kung halimbawang tinanong ka ng PLDT, pwede bang magpadala kami sa inyo ng marketing promo? Tapos kinlik mo yung yes. Tapos naasar ka na, ayoko na ng mga emails nyo. Then you can tell PLDT, I want you to stop processing my data. Ganon. And then, of course, you have the right to complain. You can file complaints sa National Privacy Commission. You have the right to damages. You can get damages. And then you have the right to portability. When your data is processed electronically, kunwari, kinolect ng PLDT, right? Yung mga payments mo. Tapos yung payment mo, kunwari lang, ang payment mo to pay your phone number, you have to put in your birthday, your name, your address. Kinuha ng PLDT, ano? And it was processed electronically. Then you can ask them, excuse me, gusto ko kunin lahat ng aking payment history for the last 10 years. Pwede ba yun? You can ask them. Kasi when they collect your data and they process it, of course, they can say, hindi namin pwedeng ibigay sa sa pages na format kasi wala kaming Mac. Microsoft lang kami, sa Word namin ibibigay. They can choose the electronic format na ibibigay sa iyo. And then, this is also important. Paano pag namatay ka na? Can any of these rights be exercised by your heirs? Pwede. Pwede pa rin nilang hingin yung mga data mo. Pwede pa rin nilang i-modify. Mali ho ang spelling ng pangalan ng tatay ko dyan sa nagkaroon ng death notice na obituary. Mali ho ang spelling ng pangalan ko sa obituary, pa-correct naman. That's the right to modification. Pwede yun. On the other side, those collecting and processing your data have the right to observe this right, have the obligation to observe these rights. And then they have the obligation to protect your data. Kaya pag nagkaroon ng breach, pwede kang mag-complain kasi inallow nila na makita ng iba, ma-process ng iba yung data mo. Yun.
Yes, Attorney Dan, si Walter here. Ano po yung in relation po doon sa flexible learning among academic institutions, ano po yung mga watch points or dapat nating bantayan for the members of the academe and also the students, especially now in the time of the new normal?
Well, for the schools, they have to be careful dun sa pag-secure ng data. They have to know where they are storing their data. Yung isang, kasi as of now, ginagawa pa yung Code of Conduct, di ba? So, that's for the schools to finish and come up with. Pero for example, meron kayong ongoing Zoom classes, right? So, during the Zoom, may video that's being taken, right? Paano kung malik yung video? Sino ang responsible? So ang tatanungin doon, sinong nag-hold ng Zoom? Sino yung nag-organize? Sino yung nag-store ng data? How can you trace kung saan nanggaling yung leak? Diba? Pwede bang nanggaling sa one of the students, sa participants? Pero paano kung hindi pala? That's why the school needs to know yung data processing that's being done. So that when there is a leak, they know. They know how to find it, they know how to contain it. And then they know how to plug it in such a way na hindi na mangyayari. Yung sa mga grades, yung sa records, dati ng problema yun eh. But dito sa online learning, yung isang main problem is we're all online. Paano hinahandle yung security ng online classes? For the students, ganun din. Yung, well, mas yung sa mga likod nila, sa background nila, they have to be aware. Ganun. Also, yung passwords sa Zoom. That's why, di ba, yung pagpasok dito kanina, I had to wait kasi you have to approve. Di ba? Hindi pwedeng, kaya nga may password, may meeting IDs because hindi pwedeng basta-basta na lang may magka-crash. Paano pag may nag-gate crash dun sa isang online Zoom? Pagkatapos, nagpakita ng genitals. Elementary school. Sinong responsible? Diba? So, yung nag-hold ng Zoom. Right? So, is that the school? Is that the teacher? So, the teachers, the schools must be aware na dapat may password, dapat malinaw yung mga participants kung sino. Kasi hindi, can you say na, huwag na lang tayo mag-video. But how do you know if the children are actually listening, di ba? And participating.
Dito ngayon, Attorney Dana, sa handling the data, there's so much data that we are keeping right now. Especially we ask the students ano yung mga preferences nila sa modalities and then nagbigay sila ng mga email addresses and numbers. Ano po yung mga watch points po dito sa ganitong data that we have gathered?
Well, as much as possible, una yung email addresses. Sa amin, sa Bayad Center, we use office emails kasi mas secure yun kaysa Gmail and Yahoo na minsan na-hack, right? Yung mga Yahoo group chats, dati noon, pagka nag-google ako, makikita ko na lang yung chat mismo eh. Tapos, ako man mismo, I don't use, I have a Gmail account, but I hardly use it. I use a Proton Mail account. Merong mga email accounts na mas secure. Secure sila kasi una, hindi sila basta-basta nahahack. Pangalawa, when somebody demands to see your email, hindi rin nila basta-basta ibibigay. Ganon. Kasi what if biglang sabihin biglang part ka ng investigation, sabihan ka terorista ka. Diba? Pwede bang basta-basta nalang ibigay ang email mo? Pwede ka bang sabihan without being told? Pwede bang ibigay without you being notified, right? So may mga processes dapat yon. Yung mga email companies din, meron silang mga procedures. Kaya merong mga email na mas secure. Yung Proton Mail, meron siyang libreng email actually. Merong mga libreng email accounts that you can use that are more secure. Ang isa pang basic rule, if your email is in your name, and somebody targets you, Google lang nila, di ba? Tapos, nasa pangalan mo yung email account mo. Ang password mo pangalan mo ba? Or 1234. Or birthday mo. Ganon. Madaling mahahack yung account mo pagka ganon. Yung Facebook mo. Yung Facebook account mo ba, ang account name niyan ay yung, di ba, you have to use an email address to open a Facebook account. Yung email address ba is an email address in your name? Ganon. Kasi pagka ganon, mas madaling matry na mahack yun. Kasi hulaan ko lang, okay, si Walter, ito yung pangalan niya eh. Papasok ko yung pangalan niya sa Gmail. Tapos sabihin ko, forgot password. Pagka pumayag, pangalan nga niya, hindi itatry ko namang i-hack yung email niya. Mga basic don't use easy passwords. Nire-remind naman kayo when you use passwords, di ba? Sasabihan ka ng whatever the app is na, minsan may requirement na dapat combination ng numbers, special letters, special characters, gano'n. Yun.
Attorney Dana, Ngayon po, welcome po natin uli ang ating member ng social media team, si Ma'am Glio Layos, para po magtanong ng ilang questions galing po sa social media naman. So Ma'am Glio.
Thank you, Sir Andre. Hello, Attorney Dana.
Hello.
Okay. Yung una pong tanong, with the rising number of COVID cases, there is an ongoing debate whether or not the personal details of COVID patients should be publicized. So of course, the Data Privacy Act, gaya nung mga discussions mo po kanina, it prohibits the processing and disclosure of these sensitive information, except in certain circumstances with the necessity to protect life. So yung unang katanungan po namin, Attorney Dana, what circumstances qualify as an exemption in this prohibition, and does this include the threat of COVID-19 spread or transmission?
Okay, so basically ang question is, ano yung exception na pwede kang mag-collect ng data without consent?
Opo, Attorney Dana, kasi isa po itong malaking issue ngayon sa social media po. Kasi yung mga tao, gusto nilang malaman yung halimbawa,
Kung sino yung may sakit.
yung pangalan ng pasyente kasi nga gusto nilang protektahan yung sarili nila. But on the other hand po, syempre kung sino man yung pamilya nga ng pasyente, they also wanted to protect themselves and their family for that matter. So ano po ba tong mga exceptions na to? And justified po ba na in expense of this public security, kailangan po nating protektahan yung privacy ng mga pasyenteng ito po?
Okay, yung unang question muna kung ano yung exceptions. May exceptions sa collection and processing without consent. At isa doon is public health at saka medical necessity. So halimbawa, mamamatay na yung tao, parang oh no, walang consent. Tinignan mo sa pitaka niya, doon yung pangalan, parang gagamutin ko ba siya? Wala siyang consent. Parang pwede yun, exception yun. Parang bigay na lang siya ng consent pagka nabuhay na siya, gagamutin ko muna. Ganon. Okay, pagdating do sa issue ng COVID-19, hindi kasi siya, it's not a simple question. Una, of course, it's important to know, right? I mean, that's a basic reaction. I want to know so that I can protect myself. But that assumes na parang paano yung patient? Can you protect the patient from the harassment and the discrimination that we know will follow? Diba? May mga cases na pinaalis sa tinitirhan nila, may mga cases na nilagyan ng fence yung buong bahay ng barangay para hindi sila makalabas. Inisip mo ba kung ano mangyayari dun sa tao pagka nalaman ng buong barangay na may sakit siya? Una yon. Pangalawa, kung ikaw yung may sakit, papayag ka ba na malaman ng buong barangay, knowing what will happen to you? And knowing the discrimination na nangyayari ngayon, sa palagay niyo ba pag sinabi natin, sige, paalam natin sa buong mundo kung sino ang may sakit. Sa palagay niyo ba yung mga may sakit magpapatest pa? Meron pa bang aamin na may sakit sila o magtatago na lang sila? At pag nagtago sila, matitreat ba natin sila? At kung hindi natin sila magagamot, mapipigil ba natin ang pagkalat ng COVID-19? Diba? Maraming umaamin na may sakit ako, lalo na sa mga cabinet secretaries, kasi gusto nila ipakita sa mga tao na una, walang masamang magkasakit. Minsan hindi mo kasalanan na nagkasakit ka. Kasi may cases na hindi lumalabas ng bahay, nagkasakit. So, para kasing may kasalanan yung may sakit dahil siya yung nagbe-bear ng burden. I'm sorry, madi-discriminate ka, pero I want to protect myself. Diba? So, ako lang ang mahalaga at hindi ikaw. Tama ba yun? Ganon. And then, according to law, ang sabi ng batas, ang dapat lang makaalam ng kung sino ang makaalam, mag-collect, mag-process ng personal information ng mga may COVID-19 ay mga doktor at mga ospital. At yung mga inauthorize ng health department, so yung pwede mga contact tracing teams. Otherwise, hindi. So bakit ganon? Kasi nga, right now malakas ang discrimination. Right now, hindi naman nila kasalanan yung mga nagkakasakit. Hindi naman nila kasalanan. Unless, kung nagkasakit ka dahil nagmanyanita ka, yun, kasalanan mo yun. Pero kung hindi ka naman, wala ka namang ginagawang against the law, di ba? Bakit ikaw mo yung magsasuffer so that other people can protect themselves. Pangatlo, doon tayo sa can protect yourself. Kung alam mo ba lahat ng may sakit sa barangay mo, ibig sabihin ba nun, hindi ka na magkakasakit? May isang study, ang belief is that, 40%, mataas ang number ng asymptomatic cases. And I have heard, may mga kakilala ako na siya, symptomatic, yung asawa niya asymptomatic. Doktor siya. So nung nagpa-test siya, tinest din si asawa. Si asawa was also positive but never nag-show ng symptoms. Si doktor nagka-symptoms. So, how do you know na hindi ka magkakasakit simply because kilala mo lahat ng nagkasakit? If we don't test, ang daming gumagala na hindi nila alam na may sakit sila. Can we blame them for spreading when they don't know that they are spreading? Kasi hindi makapagpa-test. Yung insisting na malaman natin yung pangalan ng mga may COVID-19 is putting all of the responsibility and all of the blame dun sa mga nagkasakit. Pero matitigil ba natin yung spread ng COVID-19 kung magsisisihan tayo at magtatakutan? Yun ba ang paraan? Diba? So, balik tayo sa proportionality. If may studies that proves, pag nalaman natin lahat ng may sakit, mapipigil natin ang COVID-19, then you can say, may legitimate interest ka, may legitimate purpose ka, at pwede mong alamin yun. But until we have evidence to prove that knowing all of this and putting these people's lives in danger will solve the pandemic, I don't think pwede yun, right?
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Dana. So proceed po tayo sa next question. So malaking problema na po at matagal na problema na, even this is precedented case na po, yung identity theft, right? Pero ngayon po, sa new normal, many organizations, even including government agencies, have migrated their procedures to online platforms. However, there are some necessary steps in this online procedure, gaya ng hihingan ka ng valid ID, papipicturean sa'yo, di ba po? Which can pose risk for personal data breach. In fact, example po, yung isang public school teacher nga na nagkautang siya dun sa bangko kasi ginamit yung yung ID niya, 800,000 pesos yon, sir. Opo. So, how can we create an effective and responsive personal data breach management protocol, including data breach reporting procedures po?
Ang maikling sagot dyan is kumuha kayo ng isang data protection officer, which is required by law anyway. Ang mahabang sagot dyan is you need to know how you're processing your data. Sa Bayad Center, kinukulit namin lahat ng partners namin. So, medyo marami yung kaya iniisa-isa pa namin. Paano yung processing ng data? So, okay, kailan ka nang hihingi ng, kaya yung data flow na nire-require namin, you have to identify lahat ng data na kinukuha mo. So minsan, na-asar na yung tinatanong namin, sabihin namin, lahat ng data, sabihin niya, 100 ang partners ko. Kailangan ko bang sabihin lahat ng 100 partners ko? Oo, lahat ng 100 partners mo. Kasi yung isang partner mo, walang kinukuhang pangalan. Ang kinukuha lang niya yung date and time ng transaction saka amount paid. Yung isang partner mo, ang kinukuha, government ID. Ang government ID is sensitive personal information. So, ang main difference ng personal sa sensitive personal, mas mataas ang bayad pag nagkaroon ng breach. Mas matagal ang time mo sa kulungan pag nagkaroon ng breach. So, parang kailangan mas i-protect mo yon. So, halimbawa, ang customer complaints handling namin, to verify your identity, we ask for a government ID. So, we're trying to secure yung database, yung process ng customer complaints handling, and the database that contains the information. Ganon. Mahaba yan. Kailangan gumawa ka ng privacy impact assessment. Kailangan alamin mo yung process ng data mo. Kailangan alamin mo sa nakastore. And then, as soon as possible, kung hindi mo na kailangan i-delete mo. Kasi when you delete it, wala ka na poprotektahan, di ba? So, ang sinasabi namin dyan sa office is that data are like children. Parang the more you have to protect. So parang ayoko na maraming anak, kaya konti lang please. Ganon.
Okay, thank you for that, Attorney Dana. So sir, malaking responsibilidad din sa atin yan na nag-a-apply for anything or nagpa-publicize siya nung mga private na mga datos natin. I have last question po no from the sentiments of our netizens. This is on the part naman po ng mga estudyante. Kasi nag-release yung National Privacy Commission ng online learning guidelines issued to help protect students privacy and reduce data breaches in schools. Pwede po ba nating ma-discuss yung mga salient points po dito para sa ating mga estudyante na nanonood po ngayon?
Actually, ang nakita ko ay yung ginagawa pa yung Code of Conduct. I haven't seen the guidelines.
May na-upload po sila dun sa page po nila na guidelines po.
Can you
Sample ng guidelines.
It's in the page. So may sinabi nila dito na these are among the guidelines contained in the Advisory Number 2021 that Data Privacy Council Education Sector issued to help students, parents, and teachers, administrators, and other school personnel safely navigate digital spaces. So may ganun po siya. So sa mga nanonood po nating mga estudyante ngayon, pwede nyo pong i-visit Opo, attorney. Pwede nyo i-visit yung Facebook page din ng National Privacy Commission dahil malaking tulong din po ito para maprotektahan po din yung mga rights niyo, for example. Kasi andito din sa provision po, attorney, na yun nga, yung grades, kahit grades nila, hindi daw pwedeng i-publicize.
Yung grades hindi talaga pwede. Okay, sorry, September 16, yes. Okay, yung grades hindi rin pwede yun. Sandali ha.
Meron dyan.
Okay, so basically kailangan yung consent ng guardian. Pagkatapos kailangan yung presence during recorded sessions just to check kung kasi minor itong mga ito.
Kahit for result of assignments.
Well, actually, if you notice, parang last year or 2 years ago na hindi na nila nilalabas yung yung results ng examinations. That's partly because for privacy considerations din. Kasi ang nangyayari, nakikita mo kung sino yung hindi nakapasok. Diba? So parang ang tanong kasi nung una doon is parang ang nilalabas lang naman dito yung mga pumasa, right? So what's wrong with that? Kaso parang makikita mo yung absence ng pangalan eh.
Opo. Pero after ni Dana, since on the process po yung pagde-develop natin ng guidelines na yan, so makiisa na lang po tayo dun sa mga nagla-legislate yan. So, Ma'am Dana, last question po from the social media, kasi ito po yung pinaka-hot issue ngayon sa Twitter eh. So how about the students po screen capturing conversations of teachers and students and post them on social media?
Actually, hindi allowed yun. Ang conversation kasi, group chat, for example, ilan ang members ng group chat? Siguro kasi ganito, kung ang group chat mo is 5,000, you can say na wala ka na expectation ng privacy. Pero kung ang group chat mo is for the class, di ba, may expectation ka ng privacy that it will be kept to members of the class. So, ibig sabihin nun, pag nag-uusap kayo, may consent ka, right? May consent ka na mag-uusap kayong 50. Pero wala kang consent na sabihin yung sinabi mo sa iba.
Okay.
So, hindi allowed hindi allowed yung well, I think hindi allowed yung pag-screen cap. Ang kasi sa data privacy, wala pang umakyat sa Supreme Court right now. So, wala pang definite na mga rulings. But as a lawyer, ang tingin ko is, it's like, in a way, if it's a group chat, you can argue na it's like a letter. It's a not exactly a letter, kasi ang letter is really between two people. Pero it's it's private. So my expectation ka na it will be limited to members of the group chat. Pero remember nung merong isang case sa Facebook na nag-post sa Facebook ng nakabikini yung estudyante, and the student was dismissed from the school. So ang argument doon ng student, my expectation naman ako ng privacy since it was limited to my friends. So hindi dapat ginamit yun against me. Pero ang sabi ng Supreme Court, Eh, ilang libo naman yung friends mo. Wala ka na expectation ng privacy kung 5,000 yung friends mo. But then, so ang counter-argument doon, that was not discussed kasi hindi na part ng case. What if you set, yung custom settings mo is naka-restrict to 500 people? Pwede mo bang sabihin na privacy yun? That's why I asked doon sa group chat, ilan ba yung members ng chat?
So, Attorney Dan, to follow up on that, will the students be still liable if they have indeed posted a screen capture of the conversation?
Pwede mong sabihin na it was unauthorized processing ng, depende ha kung anong information. If the information contains personal data, then it's covered by the Data Privacy Act. Ngayon, kung ang information ay tungkol sa assignment na ibinigay mo, walang personal data yon. Iba ng iba na yung gagamitin mo for that. Hindi naman siya wiretapping, pero you'll have to think of another. Hindi na siya violation ng Data Privacy Act.
Okay po, Attorney Dana, that's all from Social Media Research Team. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Leo. Sir Walter, any follow-up question for Attorney Dana?
I'm sorry, hindi ko na online learning.
Yes. Do you want to add on or you have a rejoinder, Attorney Dana?
Hindi ko kasi nakita yung yung mismong guideline.
It's okay.
I'm sorry I wasn't able to discuss that.
It's okay, ma'am. Are there mechanisms, for example, attorney, for us in the university, in the academe, pwede bang maglagay ng mga notices, ng mga privacy notices, or paano ba ginagawa ito so that we can also make our students or maybe our audience aware that there will be some privacy implications on this aspect? May mga tips ka ba dyan na pwede natin gawin?
For example, if you notice yung sa CCTV camera, you have to have a notice saying na yung premises are secured by CCTV cameras. And then, kung pwede, bago pumasok, and then dun sa may CCTV camera also. And then the notice will include paano pinaprocess, ganon. At well, of course, it's the school that process it. So yung right to information, di ba? Who's collecting, who's doing the collecting and processing, and how it's being protected. Ganon. That's one. So if you notice sa ibang schools, like for example sa UP, sa gate ng high school nila, nakikita ko may CCTV notice na pag pumasok ka, mako-collect yung yung footage, yung video footage. This is meant to keep the premises secure, ganon. Sa Bayad Center sites, meron kaming CCTV notice na for security and investigation purposes, ganon. And then also we're sure, we make sure na yung camera, hindi kita yung computer. Kasi baka yung camera mo nakatutok sa computer, so nakikita rin yung laman ng laptop, right? So dun lang sa, ano ba ang kailangan? To prevent theft, to make it secure. So dun lang sa areas na ma-identify mo yung mga pwedeng magnakaw. So when you take footages, you have to also see kung ano yung nakukuhang footage. Yun. And then, so that's it. And then privacy notice, usually sa websites yan, but you can also put them sa sa places where information will be collected, like sa Bayad Center, yung mga Bayad Center stalls, merong privacy notice dyan. Now, we only collect your information as necessary to process your payment. So nandun yan either sa malapit sa teller or kung saan ka magbabayad. Ganon.
Attorney, yung consent po, for example, I noticed in another university, merong pinifill out na form ang estudyante, and then sa baba, parang if you check this, you give the authority or you consent to the release of this information for this particular purpose, etc., etc. Ano po yung guidelines dyan, attorney, or any tips on that for the academe?
Okay, ang consent kasi has to be specific, and then specific, informed, and time-bound. So anong ibig sabihin ng specific? Hindi ako pwedeng magbigay ng isang pahina sa iyo na, okay, do you consent to the use of your information, of your personal information, the use of your picture, the use of your biometrics, for marketing, for research, for investigation. Tapos sa dulo, yes, I agree. Kasi ang dami mong binigay na consent. It has to be specific. So, I'm going to ask for consent for marketing. Please check the box. Ganon. And then, dapat din, naiintindihan mo. That's why, kung may privacy notice kayo and you're in Bukidnon, it's better if you have English and Visayan version ng privacy notice so that people will understand kung ano yung ginagawa nyo with their data. So that's what informed is. Hindi yung pwedeng, dati joke to a few years ago or was it 10 years ago na, yung may isang malaking app na pag binasa mo yung consent niya, sa dulo nun may nakasingit na I consent to sell my soul to the devil eh. Parang tinitignan lang nila kung nagbabasa ka.
Si Faustus.
Diba? Kasi ano I mean people just say, oh, I agree. Ganon. But if you do that, pagkatapos later on, naghabla sila sa'yo, sabihin nila, ay, hindi ko naintindihan yung consent page mo eh. Sasabihin ng National Privacy Commission, patingin nga ng consent mo. Ganon. And then time-bound, so that's why we say, we're going to delete your information pag hindi na namin kailangan. Halimbawa, tapos na yung, kasi may requirements ang law kung kailan, gaano katagal dapat. Pagdating sa banks, kailangan at least 5 years yung transaction records. Pero kung email address lang naman, na walang kinalaman sa payment or transaction, we don't need to keep it.
Okay po. Attorney, may nag-send din po sa akin ng questions na pa ng mga students ko. Any clarification then related to the previous question a while ago tungkol doon sa pag-screen capture ng conversations between the teacher and the student. So, again, kung wala namang relevant information regarding the teacher doon, there will still be a liability po. Pero ibang case na not related really to data privacy.
Maybe a liability, not necessarily. Kasi pwedeng sabihin ng estudyante, kasi ang hirap i-retype nung assignment ini-screen cap ko na lang. 'Di ba? So parang feeling ko pag naghabla yung teacher doon, hindi rin hindi rin ganoon kadali na parang so kasalanan na kaagad ng estudyante. Wala namang intent na pasamain yung teacher, right? Ganon.
Pero if there is an intent, for example, attorney, what are other liabilities will the student have po?
Depende. Halimbawa, kunwari ganito, nagsusolicit yung teacher. Sabihin ng teacher, pwede ba tayong mag-date? Pwede bang hindi ba pwedeng screen cap ng estudyante yun? Gusto niya ng ebidensya against the teacher. So sasabihin ba natin na huwag? So depende. O kaya sabihin niya, tamo si ma'am. Ang sama talaga ng grammar, Pagka ganun, I guess pwede sigurong libel kasi paninirang puri. So depende sa sa situation talaga.
Okay. So I hope na nakuha yun ng mga students natin because it's one of the issues na nowadays, especially we are on flexible learning na nag-involve with GCs, Facebook, and Google Classroom. Kaya Sir Walter,
the students should be responsible. Kasi kung naninira ka talaga, may mahahanap na batas para dyan. Wag namang malisyoso, di ba? Ganun. Pero kasi kung nangungopia ka lang ng ng notes ng kapwa mo estudyante, baka naman hindi pwede namang patawarin 'yon, di ba? So for me, case to case basis 'yan kasi pagdating sa korte, pag-aawayan pa rin ng mga abogado 'yan eh.
Okay po. Salamat po sa pagkaklaro po, Attorney Dan. Sir Walter?
Yes, baka backtrack muna kadali itong question ko, Attorney Dana, kasi kanina po nabanggit niyo yung mga rights ng mga tao, rights ng sino man with regards to how their data is being handled. Sa mga institutions naman, sa mga stores, sa mga entities ngayon, establishments ngayon who are gathering this data for the purpose of contact tracing and whatsoever. Ano po yung kanilang responsibilities? Pwede po ba dating bigyan lang mga ilang mga tips para they will be aware also po paano they can responsibly handle this data?
They have to protect the data. So una, yung logbook hindi talaga pwede yun. Kasi pasok ka dun sa isang store, sulat ka sa logbook, right? Kung may stalker ka, Di nakita na niya yung phone number at address mo. Kaya pag tinignan niyo sa bank, sa BPI for example, bawat isang customer, isang client, has to fill up a form tapos ibibigay sa'yo separately yon. Tapos ibibigay mo sa guard ng hiwalay. So hindi mo makikita kung ano yung data nung nasa unahan mo. At yung data mo hindi makikita ng nasa likod mo. Yun, una yun. Pangalawa, paano yung storage? O, sige, kinuha sa form, secure, right? Tapos inilagay sa isang box, tapos yung box iniwan sa labas. Eh di nakita mo rin lahat ng address, ng phone number ng mga tao. Violation yun. May specific violation sa batas yung improper disposal. Pag iniwan mo in a public place yung data or itinapon mo sa basurahan yung personal data, ano yun? Fine yun at saka kulong. Ganun. Iba pa yung nagbigay ka ng access to other people. Yung isang quiz namin, kunwari, sa isang store, nagkuha ka ng data. So, ginawa mo naman na form, gano'n. So, behaved ka naman eh. Tapos, si manager, at the end of the day, sabi niya kay security guard, o itapon mo na. Ginawa ni security guard, binigay yung forms doon sa girlfriend niya. Si girlfriend ay telemarketer. Ginawa ni girlfriend, tinawagan isa-isa. So, yung mga tinawagan, ano ang pwede mong ikaso kay girlfriend? Ano ang pwede mong ikaso kay security guard? Ano ang pwede mong ikaso kay store manager? Diba? So, si girlfriend, unauthorized processing kasi wala kang consent eh. Diba? O, si security guard, nagbigay ka ng access. At si store manager, meron ka bang procedures for disposal? Kung merong procedures, pinalo mo ba? Bakit hindi mo in-ensure na talagang itinapon or dinispose ni security guard? So eto na naman ako, sorry. Sa Bayad Center, parang commercial, meron kami required them to shred. Ganon. Tapos, actually, may ano pa yan, may standards pa for shredding. Na usually, ang shredding is horizontal or vertical. Pero as much as possible, we recommend na parang dapat criss-cross. Kasi, kagaya na alam ni Walter, maraming mga reporter na willing na magpunta sa basurahan at magdikit-dikit ng mga dokumento para mabasa, right?
Attorney, so you can use to write on a logbook. Pwede bang sabihin na ayoko mag-logbook. Magbigay na lang ako ng papel where my data are, where the required data are inputted and then yun na yun. Pwede ba yun?
Pwede, pero probably sasabihin nila private space to and these are my conditions. So they can deny you simply because, I don't like your face and hindi naman to public space eh. So hindi kita papapasukin. Ang pwede mong gawin doon, kausapin mo yung management. Sabihin mo na against sa data privacy principles yung ginagawa nyo. You can also file a complaint na sabihin mo na violate yung rights mo or complain mo yung collecting and processing. Kaya lang baka sabihin nila, since hindi ka pumasok, hindi ka nag-collect, hindi ka naman affected.
Okay. And then, attorney, you mentioned also that it is obligatory among establishments or state institutions ba yun, yung government public institutions ba yun, to appoint a data privacy officer. Is that also true for the establishments now who are gathering a lot of data? Kailangan din ba silang mag-appoint ng data privacy designate para so that these matters will be handled properly po?
Actually, required yan by law na everyone who processes and collects data, kailangan mag-appoint. So, pag hindi ka nag-appoint, paano yan? Hindi ako nag-appoint eh. Ay yung head of agency mo or yung presidente mo or yung CEO mo. So, pag nagkaroon ng breach, ay si boss ang mananagot dyan. Kaya dapat mag-appoint siya.
Okay po. Attorney Dana, as much as we want to extend our conversation because it's very really interesting topic, our time is almost up. So, Attorney, ano po bang maaari yung message na ibigay para po sa ating mga listeners at viewers na kung paano alagaan at paano protektahan yung mga data nila?
Well, ang unang is know your rights as data subjects. Kasi when you know your right, you can complain. At pag nagreklamo ka at na violate talaga yung right mo, then you can be paid, you can get, you can be paid for the damages. And the more that people exercise their rights, the more that establishments will follow yung data privacy rules. Kasi kung alam ng establishments pero walang nagde-demand na accountability, they don't have to follow it. Pero when people start complaining, everyone will behave.
All right.
So yun, no? Very easy na sagot.
Attorney Dana, maraming salamat po talaga sa panahon na binigay niyo sa amin.
Thank you po.
Sa pagpayag po with consent na makausap ka namin kahit na busy po talaga yung Wednesday ninyo. So pasensya po sa mga yung mga detailed questions kasi ang dami nga pong mga tanong sa mga stakeholders natin, lalong-lalo na sa panahon ngayon ng new normal. Sana po ay hindi ito yung pinakahuli nating magiging guest ka namin at magiging resource person ka po namin para sa usaping data privacy. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you po, Attorney.
Okay, salamat din. Thank you.
Ingat.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay, partner. So, very interesting topic, partner, no? To how to protect yung data, yung Tagalog paghapon, kung datong data, no? So, importante na siguro ang lookout para sa ako, as akong nasabtan sa nastorya ni attorney, siguro ang lookout is more on us, kita mismo, no? Bantay na to, unsa lang taman o ang data nga atong ihatag, made available sa mga nangutana siya ni like sa public, no, like karon mosulod ka let's say sa ato ka sa naikan mga telecoms, di ba, pag sulod nimo or fast food mag requirement sila gud, no, for contact tracing. So atong tanawon unsa lang na data atong dapat ibutang na malimit kay sakto to ni ingon ni attorney, no, what if na ako'y stalker, partner, ma-stalk ko nila, makita nila akong phone number.
Yes, that's right, partner. No, in this session we were hoping na all the listeners and viewers became more conscious about providing data, releasing information. However, on the other side, sad partner, mas dapat conscious pod, mas responsible pod ang mga institutions, establishments who are collecting data because they are also liable. While the individuals lose privacy, the establishments, also the partner, they have liabilities in terms of breach of the use of data. No? So inani na karon ang ato ang atong dapat na conscious ta ani nga dimension, no, because we're using a lot of data and this data can mean a lot, no, sa privacy and damages sa mga individuals.
So salamat Dave kayo po no sa nag-stream sa ato ang programa karon sa pag-abitay adlaw kalian. Atong stream na 54 shares ug ato pong i-greet ang mga Master of Public Administration and
students.
Yes, ang greet pod na to ang Policy Analysis Students of Public Administration. Maayong buntag sa inyong tanan and mga estudyante sa atong gwapo nga amigo Sir Richie Colegado ug atong salamat po ta sa ato ang backstaff karon abtik kayo partner Walter. O siguro
partner Chas. Pasalamat sad ko partner sa ato ang pasalamat na noon. Greetings po sa ato mga kauban nga faculty diha sa Economics Department, no, sa College of Arts and Sciences. Labi na ba sa among chairperson si Dr. Cleopas Beth Hakutin.
Hello. Sa ato pong mga kauban na mo ni Chas sa Language and Letters Department, mayong good morning sa inyo tanan. Sa katong mga tanan na to nag-work from home partner Walter. Og of course among team 2 leader, no. Hello.
Hello Ma'am Ninfa
Caballero. Hello naman noon.
Okay, salamat usab sa naminaw di ay sa atuwa ang mga taga Kalasungay, Barangay Kalasungay Zone 1. Makun madunggan ang ato ang Sibya dito.
Yes,
abot pa diha, no.
Og
apil na pud ang mga silingan nga mga barangay Sumpong og Barangay Patpat, Dalwangan og Impalutaw. Daghang salamat sa inyong pag-uban sa moa karon nga buntag sa atong episode.
Karon partner, no, ako lang tagaag before ko mo extra, before na ko ihatag ang huling halakhak, huling
ilbimbo.
Hilong ilbimbo sa imo. Ato lang i-greet o i-acknowledge ang ato ang kada imong programa, dili ni siya inani kagwapo sama na mo ni partner Walter kung wala ni nga mga tao nga nagpuluyo sa ato ang programa. Atong acknowledge no ang pagtamang ug ang atong technical control kang Sir Mark ug kang Sir Gabriel Diwalay at sa under sa supervision ni Engineer Eugenis Gayon. Atong video documentation ni Sir Gorby Rubio, atong account manager si Ma'am Nova Terdi Agravante, at atong back staff again si Sir Chasor Leovan Untulan. Of course, ang ato ang coordination or nag-coordinate sa atong programa karon sa kahing salamat kayo, suki kayo nako ni siya sa gabi na motubag gid gihapon si Ma'am Vivian Belderol. Of course, ang ato ang dean si Dr. Dean sa College of Nursing, si Dr. Karina Joan Barroso, of course si Dr. Gemaline Paulican, Dr. Beverly Vicar. Of course, ang social media research team nato si Ma'am Cleo Rayos and si Sir Richie Coligado. Daghang salamat kayo. Guban pang mga miyembro sa among team nga di na nako ma-mention tungod sa kadaghan. Daghang salamat gyud kaayo. Og ayaw kalimti no. Tanan, salamat og palihog pag-fill up sa atong evaluation forms nga naa sa link. Ang link na ni sa atong comment section sa ato ang stream. So kini inyong ka-partner sa sunod na usab, Andre Cabigas, para sa atong programa pag-ambita daw ag kaulian. Maayong good morning sa inyong tanan og see you next time. Partner.
Okay, salamat kay partner. Pasalamat usab kita sa tanan nga naminaw sa atong episode 8 no, sa ato ang pag-ampitay daw ag kaulian Share to Heal program. Salamat kaayo sa mga ni share, ni comment og sa nag-discuss sa atong mga discussions po no, nag-react no, I mean sa atong mga discussions sa atong session karon. Hinaot nga nakutluan ninyo og mga pagtulun-an ang legal nga sa legal aspect na usab mga higala sa atong pagpangabuhi karon taliwala sa new normal. So daghang salamat yun sa inyong pagsubaybay hangtod sa sunod Miyerkules sa laing hutong or hugna na usab sa ato ang programa pag-ambitay daw ag kaulian Share to Heal program. Maayong buntag Bukidnon, daghang salamat.
Goodbye, bye-bye.